Hello, and welcome to Season 12 of the Meet the Mancunian podcast, Social Impact Stories from Manchester. I'm your host, Deepa Thomas-Sutcliffe, and I'm so glad you're here today. This season, I'll be speaking with people who are driven by passion and guided by purpose, individuals working in different ways to shape Manchester and strengthen our communities. In each conversation, we'll explore what motivates them, what keeps them going, and what impact their work is having across our city. These are honest human stories about why people care deeply about what they do. New episodes drop every Tuesday. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at meetthemancunian.co.uk. Thank you for joining me. Let's meet this week's Mancunian guest talking about supporting families with sick children. Passionate about supporting sick children, we hear from Marie-Anne Eckersall, Fundraising and Communications Coordinator, Transport for Sick Children. In Marie-Anne's own words,
success for myself is just knowing that I'm there supporting the children, supporting the drivers really. Success is obviously supporting as many children as we can, helping as many as we can. So a big part of my role is recruiting new volunteer drivers. So we have a team of about 35 at the moment.
Thank you so much, Marie-Anne, for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me, Deepa. It's lovely to be on.
We've been looking forward to this conversation for a little while, so I'm so glad that it worked out that you could come to the 12th season. Tell us what first sparked your passion for supporting the Manchester community. Is there a particular moment that set you on this path?
Well, I've got two children who are now 7 and 11. Back when my oldest child started in reception, I wasn't working. I got involved with the school, PT, and specifically I helped to organise an event for the school, which is called Bubbles and Bingo. It was a night for mums, dads, parents, carers to basically play bingo, have a bit of fun with fellow parents and carers. And I helped organise the night and to find prizes from local businesses. So it was a great event, went really well, raised nearly £2,000 for the school, which was brilliant. We spent the money on some work in the playground, which was much needed. That kind of sparked my interest really in doing something that was worthwhile. A corporate background really before I had children. I did think when my second child came along, I did think I'd like to do something. I'd like to get back into work, but I don't want to just go back to a corporate environment. If I'm taking time away from my children, I want to do something that I really feel is worthwhile.
It's really interesting that you started with first volunteering for your children's school, PTA association, and then that sparked your passion in doing something different, taking your corporate skills, but working in the voluntary sector. Tell us how your journey with Transport for Sick Children began.
I started back in 2019. It was initially a kind of mixed job, really. It was partly an admin job, partly helping to organise the transport for the children, and part of supporting the communication side as well. It was 12 hours a week, and I thought, actually, I can do this. I can probably fit this in with having two young children. It gives me a chance to get back into the workplace, and it's something really worthwhile as well. Transport for Sick Children is a really well-established charity, but probably not that well known because we are quite small. We've been going since 1977. It's an amazing team of drivers that take children to hospital appointments. And I just thought, I can support this. I can use some of the skills that I've got to improve the charity and to help. I started back in 2019 and have built my hours up from them, really, in terms of building up my role, my level of responsibility, and how much I've been involved in.
It's really interesting that so many unique charities in Manchester, and I love that your purpose is really how do you get sick children to hospital and hospital appointments and using the community for that. When you think about this change that you're trying to make with the charity, what does success look like for both yourself and the people that you serve?
Success for myself is just knowing that I'm there supporting the children, supporting the drivers really. Success is obviously supporting as many children as we can, helping as many as we can. So a big part of my role is recruiting new volunteer drivers. So we have a team of about 35 at the moment, and we're always looking for new drivers, particularly in certain areas of Manchester that are quite deprived. So that's kind of North Manchester, Oldham, Rochdale, and parts of Bolton and Bury as well. So those are the areas I focus on, because knowing that the more drivers we have in those areas, the more we can help children and the more successful the charity will be, basically.
I'm glad you did a bit of a shout out, and hopefully people will listen to this podcast and maybe get in touch with you. And it's really good that the success is about reaching more children and supporting them by getting them to hospital appointments for which you need volunteer drivers to come forward. Can you share a bit of the impact of what you do?
The impact is huge for some of the families that we take. We take such a big range of families. It's all sorts of families, from the ones that are just struggling financially. It might be ones that are new to the country. They might be asylum seekers or refugees. They might not even know where the hospital is, never mind how to get to it. They might have a very poorly child that they're really struggling to get to an appointment. And we do a wide range of appointments. It can be anything from speech therapy appointment or a hydrotherapy appointment, for example, to taking a poorly child all the way to Alder Health Hospital in Liverpool. We do trips over to Leeds, as far afield as Newcastle and Birmingham as well. So particularly those children that have quite specialist conditions and needs, they probably wouldn't be able to get there without our assistance. So it's an amazing thing really to be able to help them. And it's twofold in terms of the volunteer drivers really, because a lot of the volunteer drivers are mainly retired or semi-retired, and are looking for something to do. They're looking for something, a way to help their community, that need and what they're looking for in terms of supporting people, and at the same time obviously helping those children. It's twofold in terms of we're helping them to fulfill that.
Thank you for sharing both the impact on the families that you support, but also the impact on giving purpose and meaning for the volunteer drivers who might be seeking something new. Is there a moment in this journey that makes you stop and think, yes, this is why we do what we do?
We cover Greater Manchester, basically, that's what we're funded for. But it was actually a child just outside Greater Manchester with a very unusual bone condition. So she has bones that continue to grow, basically, and it's a very debilitating and painful condition that she has. So they were outside Greater Manchester, had to go and see a specialist within Manchester, and they basically wouldn't have got there without our assistance. So helping to find that driver, find the right driver with the right car to make sure that she was comfortable on the journey. It was quite a long appointment, so the driver's hanging around in Manchester to make sure that they then get brought back as well. We take them generally back once or twice a year, but I think that's something so unique to what we do that, as far as I'm aware, there isn't anybody else that would do that sort of thing.
It's a very valuable service, and it's really nice that you were able to support somebody just outside Greater Manchester as well,
Yeah.
especially given the rare circumstances. There must be tough moments in this journey, and what helps you navigate that?
There can be tough moments because we work with health professionals to help families, basically. We're not a taxi service, so families can't just ring us. We get referrals sent in from health professionals, so it might be social workers, health visitors, nurses, etc. And sometimes things are put in place between them and us to help a family that's in need, that's struggling. And sometimes it doesn't always work out. And that can be difficult and frustrating because you feel like you let the child down in a way. But sometimes families can be having such a difficult time and circumstances can be against you, and you don't quite always get there. So you've just got to think of the next family, who else can we help? Unfortunately, we've not been able to support that one, but there's so many more out there, and the drivers are so willing to go out and support those families. So that keeps you going.
I can understand that it's hard because you'll have a resource constraints and also other constraints. So it's really motivating that you're able to find that next family that needs help and then find a way for that support to be available. When the work gets heavy for you or the progress is slow, is there a ritual or a mantra that helps you stay motivated and hopeful?
I guess it does make me think about my own children a lot of the time when I'm at work and how lucky I am that I have healthy children. So that kind of keeps me going, really thinking about not everybody's so lucky.
We really need to count our many blessings because there's
Definitely.
so
Yeah.
many people in very difficult circumstances, and I understand what you're saying here. What's next for you and Transport for Children? What are the aims for 2026?
The aims for us are having more time and putting more focus into the future of the charity, basically. We're a very small team, so it's working with the trustees to look at what's next. So at the moment, we're actually hiring an admin assistant who will be supporting myself and the charity manager and our transport organisers with admin in the office. So just supporting us with the day-to-day things, answering the phone, putting through driver expenses, helping us with new driver recruitment, that kind of thing. So taking that everyday workload off myself and Laura, who's our charity manager, so we can focus on the future. There has been discussions about expansion to other areas. I'm not sure whether it's the right time to do that yet. I think we are still partly recovering from COVID. Following on from COVID, we weren't taking any children, and we've gradually had to build our numbers back up. Obviously, since then, there's a lot of video appointments now. There aren't quite as many as appointments. So it's for us, it's about building back the service to the numbers that we were pre-COVID. So getting out there, making sure that we are getting to all the areas that we really need to. So hoping that once we have this admin person in place, myself and Laura can really focus on that, about getting to the people that we need to, the right teams, whether it's health visiting teams, social work teams, whoever it might be. We know there's some pockets in Greater Manchester that we're not accessing that we need to get to. So having time to do that and just making sure that what we're doing really well. Because we do have quite a couple of members of the team are quite new and only joined us last year. Previous to that, we'd actually had two very experienced ladies who retired. So we had one who was with us for 25 years and the other was with us for 11 years. So that's been quite an adjustment as well. So just making sure that as a team, we're working as well as we can be, basically, and that we're proactive and we're getting out there to people that need it. That's the focus for us this financial year.
I think that's a really important one. One, thinking about that future focus, but also stabilizing the team and creating that cohesion, especially when you have long-standing people who have left. It's really good that you're bringing in more resources so you and your colleague have the time to do some of this thinking with the trustees as well, and wish you good luck as you expand and as you are thoughtful about the future. When we think of our listeners, they are around the world, and many listeners may want to help but not always know how. Where can they make the biggest difference in a simple, everyday way?
In an everyday way, obviously, you could become a volunteer driver. If you are anywhere in the Greater Manchester area, that would be amazing. If that's something you are interested in, you can have a look at our website, which is transportforsickchildren.org, or give us a call anytime on 0161 443 4100. If not, there's other ways you can get involved. Any donations are obviously always appreciated. Again, can be done through the website. And we are looking for corporate support as well. So if there's any businesses out there that you think, oh, that sounds interesting, I think they can support you with either donations, fundraising, it can be any expertise. We're always looking for kind of legal expertise on the board from a trustee point of view. We're always looking for expertise with technology, with social media, because I think when businesses sometimes think of volunteering with charities, they think of going for a day and building a wall or digging a garden. But actually, there's a lot of charities like myself around that we could really do with the expertise from businesses. Like I say, if you're a social media manager that's got 2 volunteering days a year, get in touch with a charity like ourselves and using that expertise within the voluntary sector would be amazing. It's not all about donations. There's lots of other ways that businesses can help our sector.
Thank you for shouting out. I do agree with you. I always think about skill based volunteering being really valuable. And in fact, doing something like this for one of the charities I support through my other volunteering hat. It's a homelessness charity called Mustard Tree. We're doing an interview skills takeover with other CIPR members. So I'm leading that, and we're just going to take our experience and help people find work and teach them about that.
They're a great charity. Yeah,
they're a great charity. Thank you for sharing those tips for listeners and also for corporate volunteers to consider. Is there something about your work or the voluntary sector that you wish more people truly understood?
Families, of course, can contact us. If they're contacting us for the first time, we do need to get that health professional really to refer into us. Really. I'm trying to think how it was for myself when I first came into the role and didn't really know that much about the sector. I think the thing for me that I realised when I first joined was how big the VCSE sector is and how much there is out there. There's always so many small grassroots organisations out there that help people every day. There's so many that you can't be aware of all of them. If you're ever looking for support with anything in a particular area, wherever you might be, always Google local voluntary organisations and local charities because there's so much support out there. And with certain charities, I know that I've been in meetings and charities will get pots of funding, I'm sure now and again, for certain projects. And sometimes they can't find enough people to help with those projects.
Thank you for sharing that tip about doing your research. Definitely through the Meet the Mancunian, I've spoken to now 138 charities, including yourself. So lots of great causes that people can look at as well. Within Manchester, of course, Manchester itself must have 4,000 or so charities. So it's a small fraction of the many wonderful charities here. Is there a community collaboration or a partnership or even an act of kindness that has inspired you recently?
The Royal Nawab restaurant in Stockport came to us last July, August. They had just opened. I think they've been open for a couple of months. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're in the Pyramid Building,
Yes,
Stockport.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they got in touch with us. They're very active in the community. They wanted to do something for a local charity that was involved with children. They paid for a meal for the families of 10 of our children. So they picked up the majority of the children in limos, took them to the venue. Some of our drivers also came and they picked up the children that were further away outside of Stockport. So they all came. It was 10 families in total, probably about 40 people, including the family members and the drivers. Had a lovely meal, and they also put an entertainment. The kids could have whatever drinks they want. So there was, we can imagine, milkshakes, mocktails, all sorts going on. There was a magician who they loved. They had a gorgeous meal. It was a all-you-can-eat buffet, and then obviously dessert, and then took them home. And that was an absolutely amazing experience for some of our families that have never been anywhere like that. So yeah, it was amazing to see the kids' faces. It was a really successful night. That would be a big shout out to the Nawab, really. The support that they gave us there. It was brilliant.
Sounds like a very special occasion for the children and their families, and good that they could collaborate with you. I'll now ask you the signature questions I ask all my guests. If Manchester had a superpower, what would it be and where have you seen it in action?
There's something about around being proud, I think. I probably shouldn't say this, I'm actually from Leeds. I came to university in Manchester. But my husband and so many people that I know that are from Manchester are so proud to be Mancunian and from Manchester. They just shouting to the world about how proud they are about being Mancunian, I think would be the thing that comes to mind for me.
I think being proud to be Mancunian is definitely one to shout out. If you could gift the city one new value, a habit, or a mindset, what would you choose to strengthen community life here?
I think probably more for families. I think this is improving, but I've been in Manchester for 20 years. I always enjoyed the cultural side of Manchester. I like the museums. I've already enjoyed the nightlife, the restaurants. But I did think when I had young children, actually, where was there to go in the centre of Manchester for families? But I do think that's improved recently. We just went to the Free Festival a couple of weeks ago. I think that has improved, but maybe keeping that focus on families because I think Stockport's got quite good at that. And I also think somewhere like Liverpool does that really well. I think there's so many places you can go for kids in Liverpool. So just maybe having that family mindset and maybe tweaking that slightly would be my thought.
I think it's a good call out. If you could have a 10-minute conversation with a community hero from Manchester's past or present, who would it be with and what would you ask them?
I'm thinking of one of our drivers called David, who's just retired from us actually a couple of weeks ago. So he was with us for 12 years. And at times, he was actually our only driver in Rochdale. And he did generally 4 journeys a week, apart from the weeks he was on holiday, which would pretty much be only about 2 or 3 weeks a year. The impact that he's had on families in Rochdale has just been huge. He was with us for 12 years of 4 trips a week. But that's 4 families that might not have got to appointments for that length of time. It's just tremendous. And then he just rang up to say, "Oh, I'm leaving. Yeah, thanks for everything. Bye." And I didn't expect anything, or just wanted to say thank you for all that you've done, and I've loved every minute of it, but it's time for a new challenge, and bye. And that was it. And I got off the phone and cried. I'm looking at what we can do to celebrate David and what he's done. Obviously, thank you card just doesn't seem enough. So we're looking at how we can do a little bit more for what he's done, really, for that community.
It does sound lovely. What would you ask him in this 10-minute conversation you're having with him?
What motivated you to carry on for so long and do many trips? Because it's unusual. We have a lot of drivers that do maybe 2-3 trips a week, but to do so many so consistently over such a long period of time was just phenomenal. So I think just what motivated him to carry on. He's an amazing guy. He does a lot. He's got his grandkids. He does a lot for his church as well. He's one of those amazing community stars, if you like, that's just very giving and doesn't think anything of it, really. Just thinks it's a natural thing to do, which I think is unfortunately quite rare.
So he does sound like a very special person, and more power to his elbow that he's been driving so many people and so many families to much needed appointments for so long. Looking back, is there a life lesson or a piece of wisdom that this journey has taught you? Something that you carry with you always?
I would say look into what's going on around you, look into your community. If you come in from the place that you need support, so with whatever might be happening in your life, reach out. Or if you feel like you can give support, also reach out and also see who you can help. Volunteering comes in so many different guises. It's not all working in a charity shop or building a wall. There's so many different things that you can do, and it's not always something that's ongoing either. You can do one-off events, you can do things virtually, you can do things over the phone. So I think that's what I would say, really.
That's brilliant advice, and I like that very much about both looking in the community but also considering how you can volunteer, because there's a lot of different wonderful organizations which could benefit from special skill sets, and we all have something we can give. What's the best way for listeners to connect with you, support your mission, and learn more?
You can always get in contact with us through our website. There's a contact form on there. So that is transportforsickchildren.org. Or you can get in contact through our socials. So we're on Facebook, X, and we also have a LinkedIn page as well. Send a message through there or tag us in a post and we'll get into contact.
Thank you so much, Marie-Anne. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Deepa. It's been great.
Thank you for listening to the Meet the Mancunian Social Impact Stories from Manchester. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who believes in the power of passion and purpose, or leave a review to help others discover the podcast. You can connect with me on social media @Meet the Mancunian on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky, and @Meet the Mancunian podcast on YouTube. I'm Deepa Thomas-Sutcliffe, and I'll be back next Tuesday with another story from the people shaping Manchester. Next week, we hear from Luke Matthew Iverson, talking about supporting community sewing and sustainability. Until then, thank you for listening and for being part of this community.